We've got 3 teams remaining in the European side of Cup 3 of the summer season, and now we will knock it down to 2. This is the lower bracket final, meaning that one of these 2 teams will be eliminated and the other will go through to face Method Black in the grand finals. I am your host, Healingstat, and joining me on the desk we have Venruki, Supertease, and Zico. And this is going to be an absolutely great series. We have at every single turn, I think, said that nLite will lose. Let's face the facts. We expect them to lose. They're playing Discipline Priest, they're playing Resto Shamans. Both these healers so far completely out of the meta. All 3 of the other ones have been the ones kind of dominating the tournament. And now, you know, they're in a situation where for the first time today, I think we might actually have a slight favor. And I'm actually going to go down the desk and ask, who do we think is going to win this next one between Diabolus and nLite? Let's get the predictions, starting with you, Van. I'm sorry.
Oh, nightmare. I'm a believer. nLite has made me a believer, so I think it's going to be a close series, but I feel like nLite, especially if they can win the blind pick, they're going to walk away with this series. I really think their jungle cleave is looking super good.
Sid?
Anyone that Venruki bets on ends up losing, so I'm just...
That's actually not true at all.
on Diabolus in this situation just because of that.
Zico? Wow. That's mean, but Zico, let's get your take.
Fine, I don't care. Whatever.
How do you guys think jungle would do against Magelock Druid?
That's what I'm thinking too.
Because I think
maybe bad, yeah. I don't know. Maybe good.
I think Magelock Druid wins.
I think so too.
I think Diabolus wins.
Why didn't you vote for them?
Because I want jungle to win.
Yeah, he's a believer. You're allowed to be a believer.
Whatever.
My statement's right.
I'm going to do a Sid statement. My heart believes that nLite will win with the jungle cleave and all this miraculous cyclones, but I think my brain also... I really like Magelock Druid. I feel like when you've got Warwicks and Alec on the team, it's going to be hard. But I mean, either way, we're going to have a really good series here.
We'll see
I
what
think
happens.
that's fair to say. This is kind of like... these are 2 teams that you don't necessarily see. It's kind of like North America, right? The Move and M2KC being these kind of oddballs a little bit. Yeah, yes, they're fantastic players. No one's denying that, but they haven't had the strongest performances. They're both sitting in 5th and 6th. Diabolus here are currently in 6th in Europe. nLite aren't even on the standings. They're starting to have a fantastic start to 8.2. And both these teams, if they want to make it to the summer finals, let alone BlizzCon, they need a victory here. So we'll have to see what they come up with. It is going to be nLite probably playing the jungle cleave against Diabolus with whatever they believe is their best counter comp to it.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they decide to pick with the blind pick into Grand Arena. Most of my co-casters think it's going to be the Mage Block Druid going up against the jungle cleave, maybe giving a bit of an edge to the Mage Block Druid, but I'm a believer. I think nLite can win this one. We'll have to see exactly how it goes down. That jungle cleave just does so much damage, and it is going to be nLite leading with the jungle cleave, but Diabolus? Well, this is interesting. Rogue Lock Druid. Zico, what do you think about this matchup?
I think nLite is going to have a good time in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't like this pick at all.
There's a Dark Archangel on Zuniaki. I love to see that.
I mean, I don't want to be the one that said nLite was going to win, but...
Okay,
I said Magelock Druid
isn't nLite winning, okay? This isn't nLite winning. This is Diabolus
You have
losing.
to own that you said Diabolus is going to win. So
I said Magelock Druid was going to win. I can't predict that they're going to randomly pick this.
All right, well, let's see. Maybe they can actually win with this composition. I mean, Diabolus... I feel like some of the teams, their picks have been a little bit off in these games. I'm not sure why they would have picked the Mage or the Warlock Rogue Druid, the RLD. Maybe they can make it work, but I think Walrix is going to be in a world of pain. Cassidy, Kara, they've been able to put out massive pressure in this matchup. Zuniaki on the Discipline Priest as well. His added damage can become really overwhelming for Asgrath to deal with.
Yeah, let's see if Diabolus can force them back here with some pressure of their own. Cassidy stunned up. Zuniaki preparing for it by gripping Cassidy back. Still not really that far away from the fight. Chaos Bolts fly in. Cassidy Shadow melds 1. Zuniaki is forced to sit through a blind as he is running that Relentless talent. Nixie gets the sap. Perfect crowd control. This means 2 members of the team are going to be in a lot of trouble. We were counting this composition out, but they certainly have a lot of momentum with 2 members hovering around that 50% health mark. Zuniaki has a lot of work ahead of him.
Yeah, Kara caught into a Cyclone right now. Zuniaki, like you said, he's got his work cut out for him in this matchup. It's a lot of healing you're asking for from a Discipline Priest, but like I said on Friday, if there's any Discipline Priest I believe in doing it, is going to be Zuniaki. He gets interrupted there on a Shadowman. Unfortunate. Does manage to find a penance. Walrix forced to run away just a little bit. Asgroth now caught into an Intimidation Stun. Can Zuniaki get there for the fear? Unfortunately, a preemptive Vortex by Asgroth denies that fear. That was really nicely done. He dropped a Vortex onto Zuniaki. Then when he got caught into the Intimidation Stun, Zuniaki didn't have the mobility to actually get there. Walrix in some trouble though, Sid.
Yeah, Asgrath still in crowd control. Glider Safeguard has proc. Walrix in a lot of trouble. Ironbark barely stabilizing him from that assault. Both these teams coming out swinging in game number 1. Mana, surprisingly, even at this point, Zuniaki doing a fabulous job. As Grath bashed up, they switched to Nixie. They bank an evasion. Great swap by nLite, realizing that Walrick's defense was too high, switching targets and pulling more defense from another target is going to be a better option for them. Now they have 2 targets to go after moving forward for the next crowd control, which is the freezing trap of the Hunter. Chaos Bolts lobbed out towards Cassidy. Rapture from Zuniaki going to be enough to recover here. I'm very curious what essences Zuniaki is running in this build. We haven't seen basically any Discipline Priest, and it looks like Kara, Cassidy, they're all
Whoa, big swap!
The Crucible of the Flame, which is adding a lot of extra damage during their crowd control attempts. They're the only team to be coordinating their essences to run 3 of the same one, being that Crucible of Flame. I think that's the essence you get just from logging into the current patch of Battle for Azeroth. So definitely one that I'm going to be looking to check out after this. It looks quite potent, at least for them. Nixie is still in trouble. That swap earlier.
A lot of trouble. He's dead. He's dead.
Do it. Kara's still low. Walrus looks to finish him, but Pain Suppression denies it. nLite take game number 1.
Oh, Ben Rookie, yeah, no, nLite taking game number 1, looking absolutely stellar. The stun on the trinket coming in at the end there.
It's more of Diabolus giving away game number 1.
Yeah, they're gonna say whatever they want.
I mean, Sid didn't really give a prediction, did he?
He did.
His prediction was I'm wrong. That's not a fair prediction.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, you gave the I'm wrong prediction, the classic coming in there. But I mean, once again here, I think that's 9-10 wins in a row in this tournament for nLite. They just seem to beat everyone, whether it's the Ret Hunter Resto Shaman, of course, or the Jungle Cleave, of course, coming in here. Another stellar game, taking the first one, the blind pick against Diabolus.
Yep, they took the blind pick, and a lot of it was at the back of that one swap. They forced out the Ironbark onto Warwick's, then they just quickly tap targeted to Nixie. He used his evasion at the end of that CC chain, and that gave them an opening where Nixie didn't have, you know, any of his defenses. Well, it gave them this opening right here, where Asgraf has to trinket because Nixie is the one on the back foot. He has no defense whatsoever. Asgraf trinkets, and then later on, Zuniaki does secure the game-winning fear. You know, you can see Zuniaki's going to be making his way over. He's going to be shooting out a lot of instant damage here, shooting out the Crucible of Flame, shooting out, you know, just dispels, all kinds of offensive globals here, and just putting pressure on Asgarth, forcing him to move as well, forcing him to shift into travel form, you know, costing him globals. Eventually lands the fear, and that's it. Stun on the trinket as well, you know, expected by Cassidy.
A little bit of finesse, you know, to finish off the game, and that's what you expect from these players. They've been playing fantastically, and honestly, I'm just so happy. I mean, you can tell it in my expression on my face, like, the way these guys play, the fact that they always, like, it's not just this meta, any meta, they'll just play what they want to play as opposed to what everyone else is playing, and for it to finally start working out for them here is absolutely glorious, Sid.
Yeah, but it's working out for them, I think, because Diabolus are... I'm wondering if they keep playing Walrus in these positions to try and prove to themselves that getting Walrus was the right move. But every time they do it...
it's not just against Diabolus, though. They've done it against 4 different teams. They've done it,
that's what I'm saying, but they keep doing it as if it's some point to try and prove that they can use Walrus, but every time they've tried to, they lose.
Oh, no, but I mean,
there's no shots at Walrus.
Has done this against 4 different teams now. They've beaten 4 different teams.
Yeah, but it's not the other team... Well, I guess it's true. Zyzon as well.
They beat Zyzon with this. 3-0.
Zyzon walked in Warrior Destro and looked horrible. And then Diabolus walk in Rogue Destro, which is pretty much the same thing as Warrior Destro.
That's a fair point.
I mean, it's the same result with a different comp. Maybe the Ret Warrior isn't even necessary here. I think the Ret Warrior is something that they're not going to be running. The Mage Warlock would probably just throw them away really quickly. So that's why I don't know why we don't see Diabolus in this position. The Mage Warlock made the most sense. Whereas last time we wanted to see the Rogue Mage Mirror. In this particular matchup, I think that the Mage Warlock beats the Feral Hunter and it beats the Ret Warrior. And those are the 2 main compositions that nLite have been playing. So why would you play the option that has the best odds against both in the blind pick, instead playing Rogue Warlock, which hasn't been really working for anyone in particular, I don't think. It's not been like an outstanding composition where I'm like, oh yeah, Rogue Warlock's the solid pick. It's just so surprising to me that Diabolus are going for these compositions when I feel like in that last series against Method Black, if they were running Rogue Mage, who knows if they could have just taken the mirror and been in the upper finals, and then here just play Mage Warlock and I don't get it. I don't understand the comp picks from them.
I mean, it certainly is perplexing, right? But nLite, you can't take anything away from them. They've beaten 2 different Rogue Mage teams. They beat the Rogue Shadow Priest from Change My Mind as well. They have been beating different compositions, but something that we haven't really seen thrown at them is double caster, like at all by any of the teams. Maybe this is the opportunity for that Mage Warlock.
I mean, I'm happy that my prediction's looking like it might be
right.
It's
looking great right now.
The thing is, I think Mage Lock Druid should win. I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's why they're not locking it in. I feel like the extra damage. I mean, Discipline Priests with the essences, their mana seems really solid, and their extra damage seems really, really powerful. I mean, unless they're getting lots of crowd control out, I'm not sure. Maybe Diabolus would just lose at the Mage Lock Druid. They're not going to be locking it in. They're bringing in an Arms Warrior.
This is literally the composition we just saw.
It is, but the one thing is, I think Nixie's not as vulnerable to just getting one shot like that, like getting swapped to on the warrior.
From Zyzon. Zyzon played this, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't this
but nLite played the cleave setup, so it's a little bit of a different matchup. But I still feel like nLite will win this matchup. I think Walrus is going to get tunneled down. It might take a little bit of time, but I think eventually nLite will win. The one thing,
the only version of this that works is a Windwalker Warlock. I don't think Warrior or Rogue is a good pick.
Why a Windwalker?
You need Windwalker to run away and heal themselves, whereas the Rogue and the Warrior can't really run away. The Rogue can maybe heal themselves, and the Warrior's a little bit more durable, but running away and healing yourself, I think, is what you need in this particular situation. So anytime your healer is trapped, Transcendence away, quick reverse harm, maybe Vivify, roll away, avoid the fight, then come back in. You've got double stuns with Leg Sweep onto both the Hunter and the Feral Druid. You've got instant crowd control for the Priest. I mean, it seems to me that if they wanted to run something with a Destro, the Mage makes the most sense, and then maybe a Windwalker would make the second most sense. But
do you think that the Mage, they might just be scared of him getting trucked down by jungle? Because traditionally it's been hard for mages, especially with the inflated kind of flame damage coming from
I wouldn't want to play against nLite on a Mage at all.
So maybe that's why they don't want to play the Mage Lock Druid, potentially.
Well, they got knocked down by Method Black.
Yeah.
So in my mind, when I look at this, when I look at this,
did Method Black cleave though?
They played DHDK, I think, in that matchup. When we saw it, we only saw 2 of the games, I think, in the open bracket, and I remember watching one of them where Chaz, like, they just tunneled Zuniaki the entire game, and Chaz was getting tunneled by the jungle cleave, and it was neck and neck close. But I think that's the composition Method Black ran.
Well, I think Diabolus, it's either Mage Lock Druid or Rogue Mage Druid. I think that's what they went with. I don't see their other options. Winning, I just don't think their comps are good enough. Like Rogue Lock Druid, I don't see it winning. I don't see Warrior Lock Druid winning either. I see a clear win condition for the jungle. Like there's an obvious target that you can just go after, which is the Warlock. Like you just land the CC, go for the Warlock, rinse and repeat a couple of times, you win. And I think they're banking on essentially ooming Zuniaki, and that just hasn't been happening in these games so far in the lower bracket. So I think nLite has a really good shot at this composition too.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like that. nLite are absolutely on fire. They're playing so insanely well. And, I mean, I do want to talk about Zuniaki on Discipline Priest because a lot of people love playing Discipline Priest. Like, I think it's probably, when it's out of the meta, it's one of the most complained about specs. Like, people want to see it succeeding because it's just so fun, right? Like, you have so much offensive damage. You have cool tricks like the Master Spell, the Premonition. Why is it that Zuniaki is making this Discipline Priest work where other people aren't necessarily?
That's a good question. I think just the main reason is jungle is actually not too bad. I think there's compositions that clearly beat jungle, like some of these different cleave setups. Like I think a Windwalker Death Knight well played should beat jungle, and the Demon Hunter Death Knight probably should beat jungle. So there's a lot of teams. I mean, if you look at North America, for example, pretty much every single team has those compositions available. So that's why maybe we haven't seen jungle rise to the occasion in North America. I mean, there is a lot of teams in Europe that run those cleave setups as well, but nLite, they have sort of a counter answer to that with the Ret Warrior.
Yeah.
So that, I think the fact that they have that as sort of a response to some of their counter comps are really good, but watching jungle play, it seems really good. I mean, you have a ton of crowd control, you have a ton of damage. Discipline Priests don't go out of mana anymore with the new essences. Into mages, I feel like it's a really strong composition. Into fire mages, into frost mages, you can kind of just tunnel them down. It's hard to get control of the matchup as a mage. And if you are playing with a rogue, you're playing the Rogue Mage Druid, your rogue is just as vulnerable as you are. I mean, look what happened to Nixie in that last game. Just one big swap, trinket, feint. The next big swap just immediately deleted out of the arena. So I think jungle could be seeing, like, we could see a jungle come to rise in this meta, or jungles come to rise in this meta, especially if they have, the flexibility of playing sort of a counter to the cleave setups.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, right? It's like two lost jigsaw pieces, the jungle cleave and the ret warrior. Like, they're kind of under, maybe they got swept under the carpet or something. Someone's found them and they just happen to stick together. And that's what's happening for nLite here. Between the two of them, they seem to have some sort of answer, at least for most of the compositions. They did get knocked down by Method Black earlier in the bracket. We didn't see that on broadcast. We only saw a part of it on GCD TV on Wednesday. We will have to see, because there's a good chance that ends up being the grand final. 80% of you think it could be. nLite, absolutely incredible run through this weekend. If they can win 2 more games in this series, Sid, they will go through to that grand final against Method Black.
I think everybody wants to see it happen, and maybe even Diabolus want to see it happen. I think with these composition picks, I don't like them whatsoever. It just seems to me that they have way better options, and they're just not utilizing them. Fortunately, here,
I mean, we think they do.
We think they do, but
maybe they don't.
Yeah, we think they do, but maybe they don't. It depends if the mage is. It depends if the mage is a good pick, I suppose.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how Zico feels about this, but I feel like in this matchup, this is where Arcane Mage could excel. You bring in an Arcane Mage with an Arms Warrior, and maybe that's a solid answer. You'd be really durable. I mean, maybe that's something that they want to consider moving forward. The problem with the Destruction Warlock is you're kind of just a sitting duck. Like, you're going to get tunneled down. There's no question. You can't really kite away. Now they're not even going to have the same sort of peels. Nixie, unfortunately, is not going to have a kidney shot. He can consistently shut, either Kara or Cassidy down in this matchup. And I think things could spiral out of control really quickly. On the plus side for Diabolus, they have an Arms Warrior, does a lot of damage. They have a Destruction Warlock that does a lot of damage. So really anything can happen. But with the way nLite's been playing, I feel like they're going to be able to hold on and bring it to their win condition.
All right, let's see if they can do it here. Diabolus down 1 in this best-of-5 series, lower bracket final. Loser goes home in 3rd place. Winner goes to the grand finals to face off against Method Black. Who can best Method Black? That's the question that time and time again in Europe. Perhaps this ragtag team of misfit compositions that have come together with this jungle cleave and the ret warrior. Maybe it's enough to take down Method Black. We'll find out here. They still need to get through Diabolus. So far their strategy appears to be attacking Nixie and avoiding the Warlock. Definitely an option for them to play for the later stages of dampening to find a kill on the Warlock if they so choose. Nixie is playing hyper aggressive, staying on the Disciplined Priest, but with thorns from the Feral Druid, that's a thorn in Nixie's side. He can't stay on that target. He's taking too much damage. He's going to be leaping back to a different one, that being Kara. Big connect from Walrix with that Chaos Bolt, but equally so, nLite respond with damage of their own.
Yep, Cassidy caught into a fear. Walrus trying to get control of the game just a little bit. There's been good pressure. There's the Iron Bark. What are they going to be able to get done? Asgrath moves in. He gets the bash. He preemptively gate. That was actually really nice by Asgrath. I want to highlight that. He ran in, got the bash on Zuniaki, and instantly gated away, knowing Zuniaki would use the Everman for himself and try to get the counter fear, and he just avoided that situation entirely and managed to get Zuniaki's Everman for himself. So nice plays there by Asgrath.
All right, let's see what happens here. Freezing Trap, Psychic Scream, good crowd control from the team of nLite. They are spreading the pressure onto 2 targets, that being Walrix and Nixie. This way, if Asgrath uses a big healing spell like Swiftmend or Iron Bark, nLite can switch to the other target that Asgrath will now no longer be able to use those abilities on. In the meantime, Diabolus are doing similarly, going after Kara and then switching to Cassidy when Zuniaki commits his heals. Both teams playing equal strategies. Cassidy falling behind in this position, having to use survival instincts to survive. Asgrath jumps in, getting crowd control on Zuniaki, but Kara looks to protect him, standing next to Asgrath, looking for a freezing trap. If Kara can snipe this, it could be devastating. Now coming back and attacking Nixie. Nixie wants to go after Zuniaki, but the concentrated flame forces him back. He has to retreat. That triple concentrated flame from nLite doing devastating amounts of damage onto Nixie at this point in time. Crowd not able to find crowd control, unfortunately for the team, but look at the mana.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we definitely need to look into, too. Walrix is actually getting really low. I wonder if he's going to be able to survive the situation. I think he should be able to. He still has the unending resolve, but I feel like one of the reasons why nLite is doing this is Dark Archangel, I think, affects Concentrated Flame for all 3 members. So you stack it up, you use Dark Archangel, and that gives you a massive punch, especially for these compositions that rely on crowd control, like Jungle Cleave. Nixie's just falling over. Iron Bark is traded out. You could easily fall. Big heals coming in from Asgaroth, keeping him alive, but nLite really keeping Diabolus guessing in this matchup. However, Diabolus has managed to find some solid pressure. Zuniaki has a little bit of work cut out for him. Now Walrik's in trouble. There's no Iron Bark, a full trap onto Asgaroth. He's playing the Relentless, so he never really has a trinket. All crowd control will be a little bit less on him, but if he gets caught in these chains, there's no get out of jail free card like you have with the Gladiator's Medallion. Relentless can sometimes backfire.
All right, let's see if nLite can do it and pull it off here. So far, these teams are looking evenly matched. Walrik's Essence of Vision of Perfection going to be calling in an Infernal. His Chaos Bolts could be devastating, getting 2 in a row. Cassidy is forced to trade another charge of Survival Instincts to reduce damage from that. Big value play from Walrik's Essence in that position. Mana has now been turned in favor of Diabolus with a slight lead there. We're getting closer to dampening at this point, roughly 40 seconds away. Perhaps nLite can overwhelm the Destruction Warlock in dampening, but perhaps Diabolus just outright kill nLite before that point in time. The Thorns has been hyper valuable for Cassidy as well to force Nixie away from Zuniaki. I mean, currently Nixie is hammering away on him, getting mind controlled, but now Mortal Coiled on it instantly. They actually killed off the Fell Hunter of Walrix. He has no interrupt at the moment, and he does get stalled on its resurrection. Zuniaki is still being tunneled down by Nixie. Nixie trying to create some split pressure there. Looks like Walrix is going to get his Fell Hunter back into the fight. Zuniaki likely to recover. I love what nLite do. They always playing goalie for Zuniaki. They know as the priest that it's very difficult to recover being tunneled down by a melee, so nLite will switch to the melee, put pressure onto them, and force them to go back or to go to their grave. And that instant swapping from nLite is enabling Zuniaki to have success with the Discipline Priest.
Zuniaki tried to sneak away for a drink. They left him alone for just a moment. Nixie immediately realizing what Zuniaki was trying to set up, he leaps over, starts some damage rolling. Thorns, once again, like you said, it's a thorn in the side of Nixie. He's forced to retreat, doesn't want to be taking unnecessary damage. Dampening now just kicking in. Now as dampening gets higher and higher, Zuniaki of course will be more vulnerable of a target, but I feel like Walrix is going to be such a vulnerability on the Destruction Warlock. As that healing gets reduced by dampening, inevitably he becomes more vulnerable. And if they can get crowd control onto Asgaroth, that's when we're going to see these big burst moments. Look at all the offensive cooldowns that are available for nLite. You have the Dark Archangel. If they coordinate their essences, they can get a lot of damage rolling onto Walrix.
All right, let's see if they can here. Dampening
there it is.
In. Big push. Not enough damage. Asgaroth easily recovers. Cassidy's running away. Nixie's blade storming on the entire team. Asgaroth jumps in, but then gets reversed on with the Psychic Scream. How can nLite capitalize on this? They're running out of time. They're almost totally out of mana. Kara lands the stun. They need the Freezing Trap. Where is it? They don't have it. Nixie is still low, though. Maybe they can just win with pressure. Asgaroth is struggling. Then immediately swift bends Nixie back to a safe amount, and now Zuniaki's interrupted. Kara is falling behind, and this is where the Discipline Priest is going to start to fall apart, is when members are bursted incredibly low, and being so limited on mana, it will be difficult to immediately recover. Zuniaki throws caution to the wind. He's just going to be doing damage, potentially trying to force a kill onto the team. It's do or die for nLite. The Concentrated Flames being activated by the entire team. Big push on Nixie. They need to get a die by the sword with this damage, but they do not. Asgaroth connects a huge heal. Now they've left Walrix open for a long time. He has been dealing out devastation as Cassidy is forced back to the pillar. His Gladiator's Safeguard has been worked through. Mana is tied at this point, but I would say the advantage is in Diabolus' favor. They
Dark
have
Archangel.
more defensive cooldowns. They tried to burst through with the Dark Archangel, but it's not working. They're not even denting the health bars.
Yeah, this is the Rapture coming in from Zuniaki. Should be able to keep his team alive with that. They need a big offensive push. There's just been no crowd control in Asgaroth. There it is, the Intimidation stun. Are we going to see a fear? Are we going to see a trap? Nixie could easily fall. Ironbark gets traded out. Walrix low. Nixie low as well. That's going to be the power barrier, that shield on the ground. You can see Zuniaki, he's just going to be running out of it. He wants to land the fear on Asgaroth, but a good denial there by Nixie, keeping Asgaroth out of crowd control into a Mortal Coil. Really good plays, but Zuniaki's just chasing Asgaroth. If he can land that fear, he's getting denied every step of the way. Walrix getting low. They might just be able to win with all-out damage. There's a Maim Stone on Asgaroth. Walrix trades out his unending resolve in order to survive, but it's Nixie that gets swapped to. What is Asgaroth going to do, Sid?
Rallying cry and die by the sword. All defense for Diabolus is down. All defense for nLite is down, and somebody's going to be dying real soon in this game, and it looks like it's going to be Nixie first. Cassidy barely holds on. nLite barely hold on in the tournament, but now lead 2-0.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely incredible. nLite coming through with a 2-0, and that was actually kind of what Diabolus wanted, right? They burnt Zuniaki out of mana. You can see he's completely tapped at the end of that one. But nLite once again here pulling through against all odds. This was the counter pick coming in from Diabolus. It did look like it was kind of working. You know, they were playing at the mana bar, but there's just so much damage, so much threat from this jungle cleave.
Well, that's the thing. They seem to be on the clock as the warrior lock druid, not
Which is crazy.
Not the priest. The priest is not on the clock because with the new essences, his mana regen is going to be fine, you know, at least to 20-30% dampening. And I feel like they have an opportunity to kill before that, but if they don't, then at 20-30% dampening, that's really when these warlocks also just get affected so much by the their soul leech gets affected so much by the dampening that they just kind of flop over. And that's kind of what happened towards the end here. This part right here where Zuniaki basically, I like that he didn't go for the fear immediately. They kill off the war banner, they land the trap. Nixie's doing great denial there, but Zuniaki is not slowed, which is the key thing here, and it's forcing Asgraf to run a lot, using dash, using, you know, travel form, all these globals where he's essentially not healing, also forcing him to run into kick range of the Feral Druid, into the leap range of the Feral Druid as well. And just the fact that Zuniaki is running at him and spamming out instant cast heals, you know, it helps a lot, and it just puts Asgraf on such pressure that even if he doesn't get the fear, he gets trapped up again. I believe it was dispelled there by the imp, but even with that, Asgraf still has to bash Zuniaki to avoid the fear, still has to gate away from there. So as a disc priest, just running at the enemy healer sometimes just generates so much pressure for your team because they want to stand still and just hard cast Nourish and regrowth and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a really well-played game by all 6 players. You know, we were talking about those little plays like Asgraf pre-gating a fear earlier. I think Warwick swapping over to the imp. He also made some nice plays himself. All 6 players playing great, but nLite, they found a composition. They found something that's finally working for them, and they're 1 game away from the grand final. Game 3 between nLite and Diabolus. It is 1 game away from Zuniaki playing against his former teammates in the grand final. We've been waiting such a long time for Zuniaki to have his return to power. This guy's been an absolute legend in WoW esports for 8+ years. But Diabolus, they saved their final card in this tournament. It's Tolvaron Arena, the largest map in the pool. It's the Mage Lock Druid. C9 won the spring finals with this composition. It's their final chance in this tournament.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see why Diabolus did not lock in the Mage Lock Druid in this tournament a little bit early on. Obviously on this larger map, it would appear that they would be favored. I mean, normally in a wide open space like this, Zuniaki on the Discipline Priest, very susceptible to crowd control, but I could see a world where Cassidy and Kara, they kind of play a closest wizard strategy, which is where you go after whatever one of these casters is trying to threaten Zuniaki with crowd control. If Walrix overextends, you go after Walrix. If Alex blinks in or uses Shimmer, that's when you go after him. Full polymorph secured on Zuniaki, Premonition coming in. They're looking to get aggressive early on Walrix.
Yeah, Walrix the target. A bit surprising. I thought we were anticipating the Mage to be the primary focus. Kara is now switching to the Mage. Alec, they already get the Gladiator's Medallion, the Temporal Shield, and they look like they're trying to shred through it, but it's going to be a beefy Temporal Shield right there, topping off Alec. Zuniaki actually being targeted down by Diabolus here, a bit of an interesting strategy. Asgrath taking advantage of that Hibernate spell in Battle for Azeroth, catching Cassidy in one of those. He's going to be sitting at the full duration. Normally against the Mage, the Feral Druid would be such a pest because he is immune to polymorph, but not immune to the Hibernate. So if Asgrath can capitalize on that, that could be a good way to effectively crowd control the burst damage of nLite. So far, Cassidy taking a beating, deciding to jump out of that powered barrier's defense to just lead the charge onto Alec. Still looking out for those concentrated flames from the team of nLite as they are running 3 of that essence simultaneously. It looks like it works quite well for the Hunter Cleave setups. They can time them during their freezing traps, of which Asgrath is currently in one, but Cassidy is still low on health. Walrix equally so. They polymorph Kara overextended. This is going to be a difficult map for nLite, though. I would say that Diabolus have set themselves up very well here. Zuniaki will have a difficult time moving across midfield to get Psychic Screams. If anything, he may never be able to. So without that crowd control, do they have enough damage to get a kill or force cooldowns? That's going to be the question for nLite here in Game 3.
That was a really nice. I feel like Asgrath, out of all the druids, has the best vortexes I've ever seen. He just always is on point with those, whether it's to avoid crowd control, you know, keep people locked down in place. He's just been doing a really good job. He managed to get the harpoon there from Kara in this matchup, and it's actually kind of an interesting strategy. We've seen Cassidy and Kara, they've actually been doing a little bit of a split strategy where Kara has been going after Walrix, Cassidy, he's been sitting onto Alec, and this is a strategy that if they implement, Zuniaki should be able to heal through the damage if neither one of these casters can free cast, but perhaps the Discipline Priest will be able to heal through it with just, you know, a little bit of his offensive pressure with the penances, with the smites. If he can throw those out, we'll have to see. In terms of mana, Zuniaki's actually ahead, and if they deny the drinks from Asgaroth, that's a win condition for nLite.
Definitely a win condition. I'm surprised to see the amount of pressure and mana spent. Perhaps this composition isn't going to work for Diabolus overall, and they've tried 3 of them, and none of them have worked. This return of Zuniaki on Discipline, Survival Hunter of Kara, and Feral Druid of Cassidy has been devastating in the European region. And now at this point, I would say that they have a significant lead. I would say that they're looking solid to go for a rematch against Method Black, and perhaps now with Tana's new Restoration Shaman build, that Rep Paladin Warrior, perhaps they can even overthrow the current top point earners, Method Black. nLite go against the meta to try and take out European Summer Cup number 3. They've got a little bit more work ahead of them here against Diabolus. Big damage onto Kara. Zuniaki recovering. Asgarath repositioning. Kara goes in, despite being so low on health, gets the freezing trap, but Asgarath saw him harpooning across midfield and pre-Iron Bark to the incoming attack. This Iron Bark stabilizes Walrix, allows him to get aggressive. Kara gets caught in a stun. Alec has Zuniaki pinned at the pillar in a Frost Nova, potentially a polymorph shortly after, but Zuniaki can't heal Kara. He's Nova'd out of line of sight. He's trying to move in and pick him back up, but he's so low. Aspect of the Turtle on 10% and barely survives.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job. Alec and Walrix just interrupting Zuniaki consistently. One of them is interrupting the Shadow School, one of them is interrupting the Penance, and that's just so important. If you have multiple interrupts, you're not overlapping. It's incredibly good against the Discipline Priest. They do have multiple schools of magic, and if you can shut down both of those, their healing just gets completely denied. Walrus goes for an imp play, just spells out Asgarath. Kara could be in some trouble. Might have to start playing a little bit defensive. He's forced Zuniaki to be overextended in this situation. He's in a full Cyclone, and now Kara could be in some trouble easily. He's trying to kite, he's trying to run away, but it seems like Diabolus have gotten control of this game.
All right, that pet swap from Walrix to the Imp to dispel magic crowd control effects such as the Freezing Trap, that is something that nLite need to adapt to, and one way that they can is by using Cassidy's Entangling Roots. If you use Entangling Roots and Freezing Trap at the same time, you turn that Imp's Dispel into a 50-50 as to whether or not it will dispel the Entangling Root or it'll dispel the Freezing Trap. I do want to see nLite adapt to this. If they do not, then I don't think they're going to find victory. It's too much utility for the side of Diabolus to truly exploit. There's the Freezing Trap. Where's the Dispel? Maybe they went for it. They're not finding the Dispel.
It's a Fel Hunter.
The Imp is not out anymore. This could be devastating. Walrus is so low on health. Iron Bark is going to be fading shortly. They interrupt Shadow Fury, but now Chaos Bolts are open. They knock the Chaos Bolt cast. They at least get the Gladiator Safeguard with that push. 2 cooldowns for 1, but Zuniaki is in a polymorph. Asgarath is pushing forward to look for crowd control as well. Zuniaki is going to be pinned down for what I think is going to be a long... No, they whiff it! They whiff the bash, and Zuniaki reverses it with a double Psychic Scream that could put Walrix on the back foot, but Ursul's Vortex pulls Kara back in. Asgarath is bashed. Kara needs to land it. He snipes out the Freezing Trap. Walrix is all alone. Alec needs to help him, but there's just no help. It's not going to be found. Instead, was he dispelled of the Freezing Trap there? Big heal onto Walrix. Asgarath manages to somehow cling on to life, and now Unending Resolve is coming up in 3 seconds. This is looking better and better for Diabolus.
Icy Veins for Alec. He's looking for the polymorph. Finds it. Kara, he's left all alone. He's trying to run. He's trying to hide. I don't know if he's going to be able to escape. Zuniaki needs to get in line of sight. He's trying to get there, trying to land the heals. One Shadow Meld connects. Asgaroth moves forward, gets the stun, and I think it's over for nLite. If they can hold on, it's going to be absolutely unbelievable. Big heals from Zuniaki. Alec does manage to find an interrupt. Now Zuniaki in the Cyclone. Kara just cannot get aggressive, and this is not the situation you want to find yourself in. He moves forward, though. He manages to find a trap on Asgarath, and they might be able to turn this around.
Big damage here onto Kara. Double stun combo by Asgarath. Chaos Bolt flies in. They interrupt the second one. Kara barely holds on. Cassidy catches him a quick heal as well. Good support by the entire team of nLite, but they're pinned at the pillar. Pincer maneuver. Walrix on the left, Alec on the right. There is nowhere to hide here against Diabolus on game number 3. It's do or die to go after Alec, but he's sees it coming, denies the kill. Freezing trap secured. Who are they going to go after? Who's going to be the target? They still have 2 ice blocks to work through. They still have an unending resolve to work through, and they don't have a lot of mana to do all of that work with. They're going to go after Alex. They're hoping that he goes down without blocking. Multiple concentrated flames have been activated. Iron Bark needs to be enough. It looks like it's going to be. Maybe not. The Gladiator safeguard procs as well. A surprising amount of damage, but Alec holds on. 2 defensives out of the way there. Zuniaki still has a lot of cooldowns to work with, at least for his team, but not a lot of resources. Asgrath is stunned. Doesn't look like they have it. Do they get it? They snipe the freezing trap. Alec could be in trouble. Mortal Coil from Walrix. Good support with the Fear on Cassidy. Now Fear on Zuniaki. Zuniaki's trying to move in for the game-winning Fear, but they get the block without it. If Zuniaki gets here and lands a Psychic Scream, it could be devastating, but Asgrath is repositioned. He's too far away, looking for a defensive Hibernate potentially. nLite switch their target here to Alec. They net 1 ice block, but going after the Mage means they leave the Warlock Lord Walrix open. What can Walrix get done while left open is going to be the question.
Yeah, Walrix still looking for some damage onto Kara. They just can't finish off nLite. Cassidy in that situation where everything seems so desperate. Zuniaki was just getting controlled. He threw out some regrowths, and it's what kept Kara alive. Is he going to have to do that once again? He's looking for damage. Bash comes in from Asgrath, looking to control up Cassidy. They need control on Cassidy and Zuniaki if they want to have any hope of taking down Kara. Walrus could be in a little bit of trouble. They're loading him up with bleeds, loading him up with damage over time effects, and once that happens, if they can get crowd control on Asgrath, that's going to be a good situation for nLite. Dark Archangel not available for another 35 seconds. They have to hold on for another big offensive push. Icy Veins gets traded out by Alec, and every time we see the Infernals in the Icy Veins, this is when Diabolus, they start generating a lot of pressure. Powered Barrier dropped down by Zuniaki. They're going after Alec. There's a lot of damage. He still has his Cold Snap. He's not using it. Cold Snap Ice Block comes in, and things are spiraling out of control here for Diabolus. nLite's looking good. Zuniaki's mana, though, not doing so great. Alec doesn't have another Ice Block for 5 minutes or 4 minutes. And I think nLite is going to have a huge window of opportunity.
Do or die at some point in this match. I mean, it's still anyone's game, but someone is going to be dying real soon here in game number 3. Dampening at a high level, mana at a very low level. Cooldowns are starting to run thin for both sides. Who is going to take it? It has been back and forth. Quite a brawl between these two teams, but Walrix's adaptation to this fight to get the imp in, allowing him to dispel Freezing Trap, has allowed them to break a lot of crowd control chains. Zuniaki is trying to get aggressive to close it out, but he gets caught in midfield. He's a bit lucky that Shadow Fury whiffed from Walrix. He would be dead right now if it had landed. Zuniaki ducks around the corner. Such a difficult task for him. His team needs the extra crowd control, but he exposes himself to crowd control and huge amounts of damage every time he does it. But if he doesn't do it, it might be an inevitable defeat on mana. Zuniaki has to navigate the midfield without dying to secure crowd control for the team in these potentially final moments. They interrupt Walrix, they deny him, they're trying to stall it. When is Zuniaki going to make the push? When is he going to try and cross the desert of Tolvaron and get the game-winning crowd control? There's the stun, where's the Freezing Trap? They need to coordinate it or it's going to be dispelled. The Freezing Trap is up.
They
where's
got
the
it.
Dispel? They get the Dispel in the Entangling Root instead. They're in trouble. Walrix is trying to counter pressure, but Alex doesn't have it. Alex doesn't have anything. Temporal Shield is going for a couple of seconds. He uses the Demonic Gateway, gets right back beside Asgarath. Great positioning on Alex's part to survive that dicey situation. Cassidy's now overextended. Big burst damage onto him. Zuniaki pulls him back to safety at the pillar. Now Cassidy jumping back in, and they're trying to punish Walrix for that unending resolve earlier on. He used it desperately to counter pressure, but now does no longer have its defense. How much longer can each of these teams keep it going? It's getting desperate. It's getting dicey here. There is nothing but death on the menu, at least, for one of these teams shortly.
Yeah, look at Cassidy. He has his offensive cooldowns available. Alex still in trouble. No Ice Block, another 2 minutes. No Temporal Shield, but it's Cassidy on the back foot. Good Rake Stun coming in from Asgarath. Cassidy in a lot of trouble. He's forced to run. Gladiator safeguard procs. Is there crowd control in Zuniaki? Yes, they land the fear. Cassidy barely holding on. Asgarath is the one that could close out the game. He's looking to take down Cassidy as all 3 members of nLite hide and tremble behind the pillar. The Infernals drop down, as well as the Frozen Orb. Walrix moves in, but he has to be careful. He cannot afford to just be in the face of nLite. They can easily take him down.
All right, let's see if they can do it. All 3 members in a ton of trouble right now for nLite. Kara's polymorphed away. He can't support. He can't deal damage. Iron Bark preemptively before the Freezing Trap. They dispel it off instantly. Cassidy is holding on by a thread. Asgarath looks like he's trying to finish Cassidy. Kara jumps over, but he's going to get Cyclone maybe. They don't land it. Zuniaki is doing God's work right now to keep his team alive at 40%, dampening on that Disciplined Priest. All 3 members at half health, and they're still going. They're still trying to find victory here against Diabolus to try and battle against the Restoration Druid Menace.
Dark Archangel!
Dark Archangel, multiple concentrated flames. They've got the powered barrier to protect them for a couple of seconds, but Cassidy is just so low on health, they can't stabilize. They have to pull out, but even pulling out might not be enough. They barely cling on to life. Flurry connects. Somehow he's alive, but no, Alec snipes him out. But in the meantime, Kara could get the cross kill. The Imp was killed off. Concentrated Flame connects. Zuniaki moves in to try and support, but they get the Imp back into the fight. Asgrath, Ironbarks, Walrix looks like he's gonna stabilize here, and Diabolus pull it off, but it's on their best map.
Yeah.
If we go to a small map, I don't know if this same
How does this work out on Dalaran Sewers?
Are they gonna kill him?
They might be able to. Walrix could actually still die. They're not out of it yet. Walrix is really low. I guess, yeah, Zuniaki's dead. All right, well.
Kara going for the 1v3. I would believe it at this stage. Yeah. Why not? Diabolus able to pull through, but it was not easy, and it was probably their best map choice here. Coming in with the Mage Lock Druid. Happy to see that they did go with our pick. We've been pretty on point today with some of our predictions. Obviously, just
so
not
smart.
nLite. nLite have been a team that have looked to make us look bad this entire weekend, but they're making themselves look absolutely excellent here. Even in that game, so close, really too close to call. Barely won by Diabolus.
Yeah, Mage Lock Druid seems like a pretty good comp, but like you guys mentioned, largest map, and nLite, they are really impressive on this jungle. So the strategy that they've been using is they just bounce back and forth between Warwicks and Alec. It's been so interesting to watch, you know. They will go for Alec, they will force out his ice blocks, and then Alec will just position, you know, as far away as possible, and Warwick will summon his imp to back Alec up, making him a non-target. So they will just go onto Warwicks instead. And the way they set up these CC chains as well, they will just hit the guy that they don't want to commit the trap on. Usually Alec, they'll just hit him. He's a mage, he doesn't have demon armor, he's gonna be taking a lot of damage, and that's when Asgrath isn't in crowd control. So Asgrath has to use all of his healing over time effects onto Alec, and then as soon as they snipe out that stun into trap, they'll swap over to Warwicks, has no hots, and that's when they're gonna commit the Dark Archangel, the Concentrated Flames. They just shoot out all their damage there, and that's why Asgrath was out of mana so early on and was forced to run for drinks, because they just kept doing that, swapping on the hots, and the map honestly carried Diabolus there. Like on a small map like Blackrock Hold, I could easily see nLite winning this matchup, despite saying that this was their best comp, and you know, like if they picked it in game one, might have been a 3-2 for Diabolus, but it's fine.
Yeah, we'll have to see, right? Like how it does end up playing out. nLite, obviously, they have the map choice, and guess what? Blackrock Hold, as you said, is going to be the selection from them. I do want to talk about one of the plays you kind of highlighted there from Warwick, which we first saw, I believe, Mercy going for, which is kind of this swapping out of the Fell Hunter and the Imp. We didn't see anyone really doing that in Battle for Azeroth until Mercy did it a couple of cups ago. What do you think about this play? Is it something you'd like to see from more Warlocks in these matchups?
Well, I think it's really hard to do when you're the target, because it's quite a long cast and you're kind of sitting there like a duck. I think it's more impactful for your survival to just go for Fear. It's a super short cast. You go for, you know, Fear on the DPS while your healer is in crowd control, and you try to peel them off of yourself. If you Fear somebody and you get it off, then your mage can also just sheep the hunter, and then, you know, that attack has been thwarted. Now, if they're going on your mage, I like it a lot that you just summon the Imp even before the CC chain happens, and you pre-dispel like that, which Warwick was doing towards the end. So that's a really nice adaptation that we've seen from some of these top-tier Warlocks. And Diabolus, they picked the Warrior Warlock. We were kind of critical of this matchup, but actually it played out better than I thought it would. They just need to win really early on. Basically, at 10-20% or so dampening, the Warrior and the Warlock are just going to fall over in one of these traps, so they need to try to get Zuniaki out of mana before that happens.
It was really close. I think game two, yeah. It makes sense that they're steering off of the double caster on the smaller map. Yeah. Obviously, they could stick with it and see how it plays out, but that last game was very close, even on the largest open spaces map, I suppose, that we've had in our pool. Nixie bringing in on the Warrior. They did manage to Zuniaki in game two, so it really could have been, either way going in favor.
Yeah, definitely could have gone either way. I'm trying to think. I feel like the reason why Diabolus obviously locked in a different composition is because on the small map, I don't think the Mage Lock Druid would have fared quite as nicely as on Tolvaron. But I think the small map is still going to be in nLite's favor. I mean, as long as Zuniaki can try to land fears on Asgrath, or at least chase him down like Zico was kind of talking about, it's enough disruption where Kara and Cassidy, they can start really developing a lot of pressure and momentum. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing. It's going to be nLite with the jungle. And I think just the fact that Zuniaki is going to be able to play on top of Asgrath and always threaten that Psychic Scream is just going to be what's going to win them the game ultimately.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, nLite will lock in their jungle cleave here. Once again, looking to pull through. If they win this one, they go through to the grand final. We will have that rematch, Zuniaki versus his former team, Method Black. They've been separated for a good 1 or 2 years now at this point, but he'd love to get back at them and really show that he's still in fighting form here on his new roster of nLite. We've got some real big veterans here. You know, you've got Zuniaki, he's been competing since, I believe, like 2011. You met him in the 2012 finals that year. Alec as well. I think he played in Paris at like 2008. These guys have been playing so long.
Am I wrong? Didn't Kara win BlizzCon?
Yeah, I mean 2017. Yeah.
He's literally just trying to beat his former team now.
Yep. 2017.
It's crazy how much
definitely
European
a grudge match.
just
It's
touches
definitely
back and forth.
revenge.
This is revenge and grudge. This has revenge and grudge
they
written
left
all
each
over
other
it.
on the worst terms. They hate each other.
Nothing but hatred.
He got kicked off the roster.
Booted off.
Well, Warwick has to really prove something here in that case, because he's the forced replacement, I suppose, a couple of years on. But yeah, I mean, Kara also, he's been really impressive, because Cassidy and Zuniaki, I guess we could say they're playing their main classes, like Cassidy especially on the Feral. Zuniaki, you can say, you know, he's played Shadow Priest, he's played Warrior, Discipline Priest, but Kara on this Survival Hunter, you know, we talk about maybe Dilly not seeing so much success in North America, and there's a lot of other jungles in Europe as well that aren't doing it, but it's Kara that's doing it live. He's the one who is one game away from the grand final, and nLite on their small map are hoping to finish the job here.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can do it. And I think the small map is going to play into the favor of nLite with the jungle cleave. Diabolus didn't have a bad game when we look back at Asherman's Fall. It was really close. Nixie was able to put out a lot of damage on Zuniaki, and that could be a factor as well. If Nixie can have high uptime on a Discipline Priest, it's still a Discipline Priest. Cassidy, of course, with the Thorns was making it a little bit annoying if Nixie just attacks into the Thorns, plus the added damage from Zuniaki. It really taxes the mana of Asgaroth in this matchup, so he has to be careful of that. But if they can have uptime outside of Thorns, I think it'll be good.
You have to look at the advantages given to both teams on a small map. The advantage here for the side of Diabolus is that they can more easily attack Zuniaki. The advantage to nLite is that Zuniaki can more easily fear Asgaroth. Then you have to take into consideration the increased threat from both of those. So Asgaroth needs to spend even closer attention to Zuniaki, and then Zuniaki, of course, needs to be prepared for any swap to him. Barks is pushing up, Nixie's moving in. Diabolus are playing a lot more aggressive here in game number 4, looking like they want to take this to a game number 5 by going after Zuniaki, taking advantage of the map that was actually selected supposedly in favor of nLite. The Imp Dispel of Walrix is definitely going to be a key factor in this given matchup. Without that extra COD control, Diabolus, he can play a lot more aggressively.
But the thing is, it also allows Zuniaki to put out a lot more damage. All of a sudden, there's no double interrupt threat. He gets interrupted on the Shadow Mend. He gets a free penance. Walrus does manage to shut that down with the Shadow Mend, and it's a little bit of a mini game. Nixie, though, in some trouble. Intimidation stun over on Asgaroth. Stun onto Nixie as well. There's a nice interrupt, but the Iron Bark connects with the Gladiator safeguard. That should be more than enough. And I really like what nLite's doing. I mean, both the Feral Druid as well as the Survival Hunter, they put up a lot of AoE or sort of damage over time effects. And if they can put that on Nixie and Walrix, they can sort of bounce around both targets, hit them with their burst, and it really keeps Asgaroth guessing. I mean, look at Nixie. He has to trade out the Die by the Sword. Asgaroth, he's got no trinket. Look at this situation. No Iron Bark, no Die by the Sword. If nLite can make one big push with a trap into a fear, they can just close out the game easily.
All right, nLite are one setup away from potential victory here against Diabolus. If they can secure the perfect crowd control chain, they need to work together. They're going to need Entangling Roots and Freezing Trap simultaneously, and they're going to have to hope for some luck here. If Walrix takes the 50-50 on the Dispel on the Freezing Trap, which has now been engaged, there's the Entangling Roots. Which one will he dispel? He's not even looking to dispel either. They're sitting it. Nixie goes into battle stance, but that's because he got a double intimidating shout onto both members, Kara and Cassidy. Beautifully timed by Nixie, stalling a lot of damage. Triple Shadow Fury from Walrix, totally shutting down that assault and totally removing the out that nLite had to find victory. Great play by Nixie.
Yeah, nicely done, but there's still an opportunity here for nLite. If they get the crowd control, they can take down someone quite easily. Dark Archangel's available. They just need one good offensive push. Is Zuniaki going to be able to push forward? So far, he hasn't managed to land any fears onto Asgaroth. Kara moves forward, full stun into a trap. Who are they going to go after? Nixie caught behind the pillar. Big burst damage from nLite. Can they take him down? Ironbark looking to deflect, but a nice interrupt from Cassidy. Asgaroth looking to deny some damage with a bash stun onto Cassidy. Nixie barely holds on.
All right, Nixie barely holding on is going to be the story of this entire game. Number 4. Big damage,
He's dead.
big bash, rallying cry.
It's
Not
over.
Enough. nLite are making it to the grand finals for a rematch against Method Black. And I'll admit it, Venruki was right.
Thank you.
Venruki was right. Flame on coming in from nLite here. The kick into the kill. Beautiful stuff coming in from both Cassidy and, of course, Kara on those DPS players. And the fire, the pure damage Discipline Priest coming in from Zuniaki. You love to see it. 3-1. And for the first time this year, certainly, nLite will be going through to a grand final here in Europe.
Yeah, and I'm actually really happy about this because not to count Diabolus out or anything, but I feel like the team that could really put Method Black to the test would be nLite. I mean, they've been playing so phenomenally. You know, Cassidy, he's been landing so many cross kicks, setting up stuns, into traps, you know, with Kara. They've been on point with the synergy. Zuniaki, we've been mentioning him quite a bit, but it's always him leading the charge, you know. Dark Archangel, they get the trap, they go for the rake stun. It's just such a clean setup here. There's not really anything Nixie can do. And a beautiful cross kick there from Cassidy, and then the re-kick here from Kara as well coming in. I mean, what can you do there if you're Asgaroth? Just getting slapped around here, and then now the DR for the trap is coming off again. So at the end of this bash, if they could get a fear, they can get a trap. Like the CC chain from this jungle is just endless, and you don't have Ironbark to come back. There's just nothing you can do really when you're that far behind. You just have so much pressure.
Yeah, and the pressure is basically what they've been riding this entire tournament. That's why it's so fun for us to watch. They're 12-1 this weekend. Only one defeat against all 4 of these fantastic rosters that they've played against. But now it's the ultimate challenge. Now it will be Method Black that they have to play against in the grand final for their first ever cup title. But I do want to take a second to talk about summer qualification, because obviously this has huge implications. You don't even see nLite on that scoreboard right now. They are actually tied in 8th with 32 points. So with a second place finish here, they're already guaranteed to be at least 132, which you can see that already pushes them way up the scoreboard. Look at some of the poor performers this weekend. You know, Chalky Milkmen, they only got 40 points. They're 160. Wildcard Gaming and Change My Mind only got 40 points as well. No, sorry, Chalky Milkman got 20, and the other 2 teams got 40. So those are 140 and 160. Already with a second place finish, nLite are 132. So they're really hot on the heels immediately with 1 cup into patch 8.2. If they can keep performing like this, they are going to the summer finals, Zico.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. I mean, if you looked at that graph, that's another team entering this 3-way tie that we have going on, you know? So that's just another team that's completely, you know, you can't even see them because they're so far behind on points. They're all of a sudden, they've secured themselves at least 100 points, potentially 120. If they secure themselves 120 points, all of a sudden, I think they're actually in the
tied,
top 4.
Yeah. I don't think they're top 4, but we have a 3-way tie in the top 4 right now, right? Now we've just changed who's in that 3-way tie because Diabolus came 3rd. So we're going to have 3 teams tied on 160. Poor Chalky Milkman will still stay behind. But
wait, Diabolus had 80 points, right?
80 points, and they just got another 80.
Got another 80.
So they're 160.
They're going to be at 160 as well.
Them, Change My Mind, and Wildcard Gaming are all at 160 now, tied in that 4th place position.
And if nLite wins,
they get 152.
Yeah, so they're going to be 8 points away from that tie too.
It's absolutely insane.
This is stressful.
It's
Chalky Milkman is at 140?
140 now, yeah.
Yeah, so all of those teams are going to just be neck and neck with each other.
We're going to have a fantastic season here in Europe, I can say it. Let's have a look at the bracket just to confirm what we are seeing. nLite are through to the grand final. Absolutely impeccable gameplay, but as you can see at the very top left of your screen right now, Method Black were the team on Wednesday to knock them down to the lower bracket. nLite really needs something special here, Sid. If they